Hello everyone, thank you for joining this joint webinar with our new partner Higg. Today we want to update you on that partnership and what it means for Sedex members and how you can use the Higg Sustainability Insights platform to assess the environmental impacts on your business, and also how this data can complement the supply chain information you already access through the Sedex platform. We're really pleased to be joined by Hassan Fajardo from mutual member Walmart. Hassan will be sharing their experiences of utilizing Sedex and Higg to gain a more holistic understanding of their supply chain across ethical, social and environmental data. Just a bit of housekeeping before we start. Everybody, if you can have your mics to mute, as there are quite a few of us on the call today. Please use the question function on the sidebar to ask any questions. The webinar will run for approximately 45 minutes. And at the end, we'll have 15 minutes or so for questions if we haven't covered those during the presentation. We'll be sharing a recording of this webinar with everyone in a follow-up email too. We move on to the next slide. So in way of agenda, you can see there that we'll be running through the partnership and then about Higg, and then how you can use Higg as part of your responsible sourcing program, and then Walmart questions and closing remarks. So if we can go to the next slide. So I'd like to introduce our panelists for today's webinar. I'll start with myself. My name is Mark Hooper and I'm the Commercial Director here at Sedex. And we're also joined today by Adele Stafford, VP Client Services at Higg, Josh Henrettig, VP Global Partnerships at Higg, Hassan Fajardo, Director Quality Operations Sustainability at Walmart, and my colleague James Lee, Relationship Manager at Sedex. Next slide, please. Thank you. So Sedex partnered with Higg in December last year, and the goal of this partnership is to create one of the largest supply chain platform integrations to date, representing social and environmental sustainability assessments in more than 180 countries and improving supply chain transparency for businesses globally. Partnership will enable Sedex members to have access to the Higg facility, environmental assessment, and broaden environmental sustainability insights. Sedex and Higg will also begin exploring ways to make social and environmental data easier to share between our platforms, which will streamline supply chain communications between suppliers and their buying organizations. We hope this collaboration will broaden global due diligence efforts across industries and strengthen communications and transparency between supply chain partners. Higg and Sedex are committed to reducing audit fatigue. We also support unification of sustainability metrics at a global scale and increase supply chain transparency. And this partnership helps bring that vision a step closer to reality. So I'm going to hand over now to Josh Henrettig from Higg, and he's going to take you through the next part of the presentation.
Great, thanks so much, Mark. And hello, everybody. Great to be here with you. As Mark mentioned, my name is Josh Henrettig. I lead Higg's Global Partnerships program. We're really excited about this partnership between Higg and Sedex and the opportunity to introduce so many of you to the Higg platform, some of you for the first time. Next slide, please. So I wanted to kick off this presentation by first just giving you a little context and introduce you to Higg and our suite of tools that are enabling buyers and suppliers of all sizes to accurately measure, manage, and share a company, a facility, or a product's sustainability performance. Higg itself is a 2-year-old for-benefit or public benefit technology company that was spun out of the Sustainable Apparel Coalition, also known as the SAC, in 2019. The company is the exclusive licensee of the Higg Index, which is a suite of tools for the standardized measurement of supply chain sustainability. Next slide, please. The Higg Index has been developed collaboratively over the last decade by a coalition of leading brands, retailers, manufacturers, and many others across the industry to accurately measure, score, and ultimately compare a company, a product, or a manufacturing facility's overall sustainability impact across metrics like greenhouse gas emissions, waste, water use, chemical use, and working conditions. Our suite of tools lend themselves to end-to-end supply chain sustainability by providing measurement, management, and ultimately product measurement and management across product, facility, and supplier level engagement, all the way up to the brand or buyer level itself. Next slide, please. Sorry about that. The Higg Index suite of tools ensures that every step of a product's life cycle, from raw material sourcing to manufacturing, all the way to the retail floor, there's a way to gather and measure performance level data, as well as to share that data with connected supply chain partners. We're going to get into some of the specifics of how that works and what some of these different products do in a moment. But for now, I want to set up just a little more about our work in the industry at large. Next slide, please. So while Higg may be new to some of you, we've actually been working on supply chain sustainability performance for the better part of a decade. And as a result, we've gathered millions of data points across the supply chain and in 125 different countries, across 24,000 organizations, and over 28,000 modules that have been now posted to our platform. And as you can see, even more of those modules are being shared up and down the value chain. Next slide, please. And while apparel, footwear, and textile sectors are where we have a significant presence, we're also seeing an increasing amount of engagement from other sectors as awareness of the Higg Index expands. And because our tools are built on standardized frameworks for supply chain measurement, you can trust that your insights are credible, they're actionable, regardless of your industry. Next slide, please. So for those of you new to Higg, I wanted to just help you understand who we work with. And so the following slides really represent both large and small organizations in both apparel and textile sectors, as well as others. And you're going to hear in a moment from one of those organizations on this slide that we work with in a moment. Then that's Walmart. But next slide, please. And one more slide. Higg's focus on strategic partners is really an acknowledgement of that reality that there's many technology innovations to address both climate and social impact challenges in the supply chain. But the reality is that often these technologies are siloed, and our challenge isn't always creating new technologies, but really connecting existing ones. And it is with that spirit of collaboration and helping connect valuable data across the supply chain that brings us to our partnership with Sedex. Next slide, please. One of the reasons we're so excited about this collaboration is because we see this as a complementary effort, an opportunity to bring together the strengths of two organizations to assess both the working conditions and the environmental impacts of the supply chain. We know that across both Higg users and Sedex members, organizations are really hungry for solutions that enable data-driven approaches to inform how organizations collaborate, how they communicate, and ultimately how they improve the social and environmental performance with their supply chain partners. And ultimately, we also see this about an opportunity to advance social and environmental transparency for Sedex members and Higg users. While some of the work we want to do together to fully enable rich data sharing between our organizations is still in front of us, we're incredibly excited about not only the future, but what we can offer Sedex members today. And so with that, I want to introduce my colleague Adele Stafford, who oversees our team responsible for customer success and account management, to walk you through some of the tools themselves. Adele?
Thanks so much, Josh. I'm just going to turn on my camera here. It's so great to be here. We are thrilled about this new partnership and all of the opportunity it really affords. And as Josh mentioned, we're just at the beginning of that. So today I'm going to dive more deeply into the specific tools that make up the Higg platform and hopefully offer you a little more insight into how they can benefit you through this new and exciting partnership with Sedex. I think you can skip a couple slides forward. I think we got a little off sync there. Keep going. Great, perfect, thank you. Oh, one back. Thanks. So as Josh has communicated, a key value prop for the Higg platform is our capacity for this true end-to-end supply chain visibility and management. Our measurement tools are designed to touch on every node of the supply chain, from material and product footprinting to facility environmental performance to comprehensive assessment of a buyer or retailer's entire business operation. Additionally, the platform is designed for deep collaboration with business partners across your supply chain, and that is a fundamental design principle of the actual platform. Next slide, please. The core Higg management tools can be divided into three main categories. First, our product tools, which includes the Material Sustainability Index, the MSI contributor, which allows manufacturers to submit material data to our ever-growing library, and the product module. Second, our most frequently deployed tools, the facility modules, and then finally the Higg brand and retail module. And we're going to take a deeper look at each one of these now. Next slide, please. So for most of you, our partnership with Sedex represents an exciting opportunity for suppliers to access our facility environmental module at a discount and with strong support from our customer success team. The Higg FEM is our most widely adopted tool and addresses a broad range of important impact areas in a supplier's overall operation, including energy, water, wastewater, chemicals, emissions, etc. It's also designed to meet suppliers wherever they are in their sustainability journey, be it establishing a baseline or years into their performance improvement work. And it's designed around a series of 3 levels. So questions in the assessment kind of open up according to the applicability for that particular supplier. So for example, if you don't track energy use yet, your questions within the energy section will be limited to level 1. And as you advance in your sustainability work, the questions will advance alongside you. The Higg FEM is also scored from 0 to 100. There is an overall performance score as well as scores within each impact area or section, which really allows suppliers and their business partners to hone in on impact areas or risk areas. We also have a pretty robust benchmarking capability with the Higg facility environmental module that allows you to assess your facility's performance against like facilities within your industry or region or according to any number of criteria. The Higg FEM is designed to be filled out on an annual basis and shared with as many business partners as you'd like. Next slide, please. For buyers, the Higg brand and retail module takes a comprehensive approach to impact assessment across your entire organization, all the way from product impacts to transportation to retail operations and beyond. The Higg BRM is designed following due diligence frameworks and provides a cost-effective way for organizations to really establish a baseline assessment of their hotspots and allocate resources to improve upon those areas. We've seen strong adoption since this tool's release just a year ago, especially within the retail sector, who is using it to assess brands within their portfolio and help partner with them around improvements. And as EU regulation increases, we're also seeing strong adoption of the Higg brand and retail module tool to meet requirements in due diligence and compliance reporting. Next slide, please. Our Material Sustainability Index helps designers, sourcing teams, and product development teams assess the environmental impact of materials from cradle to gate. So it measures a variety of impact areas, including water usage, chemicals, waste runoff, and GHGs, and it uses a life cycle assessment approach to measurement. Users, designers can create and save custom materials, building a library of preferred materials over time. The Higg MSI covers a broad set of materials from polyester to polymer to steel, and we are updating it with new materials and new data twice annually. We rely on a third party to verify all data submissions as well. Next slide, please. And lastly, the Higg product module, which is our newest tool and is exciting in its ability to measure a product's impact from cradle to grave, so including end of use impacts. Again, modeled using LCA assessment approach, it provides a relatively fast and cost-effective way to model product impact and share that data with all the relevant business partners in your value chain or in your supply chain. It also draws on the Higg MSI or Material Sustainability Index for material data and takes into account impact areas like logistics, retail, and product care. We're really excited about the possibility this tool offers in advancing true transparency in consumer-facing data. Next slide, please. So in addition to our core measurement tools, we've also developed a series of tools to help you manage the rich data gleaned from the measurement tools, as well as the process of rolling our tools out to your suppliers. Next slide, please. These management tools are designed to ultimately help you with the hard work of making sense of measurement data, which we know is a common scenario, to connect and manage your supplier relationships as they move through the assessment process and seamlessly connect to your own internal tools and systems. Next slide, please. The first of these is the Higg Analytics tool. This tool really allows you to examine performance across your supply chain through a variety of criteria, whether it's country-based data, high impact or risk areas, overall scores, etc. The tool itself is designed as a series of widgets where you apply filters to kind of narrow down that data set depending on what you're particularly interested in. These charts and graphs can then be shared for reporting. And we found that to be particularly helpful with businesses for internal stakeholder evangelism, et cetera, justifying resource investment, things like that. We're currently working on the next iteration of this tool, which will include year-over-year analysis to help you really track improvements over time and areas of increasing risk. Next slide, please. We've also built an adoption tool that's designed to help you track and manage the rollout process of our assessments to your suppliers. This is particularly helpful in rolling out the Higg facility environmental module, and Walmart can potentially speak a little bit to that as they've been power users of the adoption tool. The adoption tool has a central real-time dashboard, which gives a comprehensive view of your total suppliers and where they are in the assessment process. It also generates an automated email program to help suppliers move through the process and offer some tips and support for getting them to completion. We support a number of buyers and their adoption efforts through our services program as well, which helps to augment the resources on your sustainability team. So we have a whole services program that also helps to facilitate the management of this tool and the overall adoption process. Next slide, please. And lastly, regarding management, Higg has developed a series of APIs to integrate with your company's existing internal systems. These are also compatible with other third-party systems, and we have a pretty robust technical team to help do those integrations. So as you evolve in your sustainability work, and automation of data becomes increasingly important for making resource decisions, especially at scale, we're here to help support that growth. Next slide, please. And finally, Higg data is designed to be shared with a variety of stakeholders, from business partners to end consumers. We are working on a significant amount of transparency initiatives that will continue to provide channels for sharing this data. Next slide. But today, and related to the Higg Facility Environmental Module, we currently offer a communications toolkit that allows users, so suppliers or brand partners, buyer partners, to share verified facility environmental performance using Higg FEM data. And we've packaged this in a convenient and easy to use system that provides things like badging, communication guidelines, and best practices for sharing. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, Higg works with a number of customers on services offerings to help provide the right mix of support for your unique business needs. We have a variety of standard service plans, but we also offer customized offerings, including combinations of services and things like API access. Next slide. So we invite you to contact us to learn more about how we can help you get started with Higg. We do have a discount promotional code right now for any suppliers who are wanting to purchase and use the Higg FEM module, and you'll see that code flashed on the screen here. I'm sure we can get that out to everyone who's attending as well. And we also have an ongoing discount through our partnership with Sedex around the Higg Facility Environmental Module. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate being here. I'm going to hand it off now to Gerson Fajardo, Director of Sustainability for General Merchandise at Walmart. Thanks so much.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today. Yeah, I was asked to share with you our experience as we implement the Higg tools and how that journey has gone for us. So I'm really happy to share our experience. I hope it helps others as well. Next slide. All right, so that's me. I think my camera is not working, but that's me. So I have responsibilities over quality operations, sustainability, and benchmarking. I sit within the technical team at Walmart for general merchandise, and a lot of our work is through our private brands, but we also work very closely with national brands. Next slide. Okay, so I want to start with our strategy because we need to see the big picture here. And we have a big sustainability program across the company, but specifically for textiles, we focused in two areas. One, which is related to fibers, and the other one is related to sustainable production. So we have really aggressive goals, like for cotton, we're aiming to adopt 100% more sustainable cotton by 2025 in all of our private brands products. And we're doing good progress since we announced this goal. And then on recycled polyester, we want 50% of our footprint to be made, the products be made with recycled polyester across apparel and home textiles. So those are big aggressive goals. We're also working this year in order to have goals around man-made cellulosic fibers as well. But now going to the topic that why all of you are here, it's sustainable production. So we have a goal for chemicals and we have a goal for manufacturing, specifically to textile mills where most of the impact happens, to the environment. So on chemicals, our goal is that by 2025, we will work with our suppliers to reduce the discharge of priority chemicals for the manufacturing process. So we're working very closely with CDHC. We also have work with Oecotex for certifying products, and we're doing a lot of trainings and pilots in order to progress in these goals with our suppliers across the world. And then for mills, this is where we're leveraging the SAC Higg Index and more specifically the FEM, Facility Environmental Module, in order to have all of our supply chain reporting using the Higg Index by 2022. So this deadline is closely approaching, and we're doing great progress here. You'll see later on in the presentation how we're doing that. But when we started and we were setting the goal, we said, okay, is it even possible to get here? Because you know that as you go deeper into the supply chain, it's harder to have visibility. And we said, yeah, we will work with our suppliers in order to get this kind of commitments and make them happen. So Next slide, please. All right. And this is more specific about the Higg implementation. So the first graph that you see there, you'll see the progress that we have been doing. You know, we have been in this journey for the last 5 years, I would say, and we're starting the 5th year. And then you can see there how we have been progressing from 45% adoption of our supply chain using the Higg FEM up to the point where we are right now, where we are at 82%. And you can imagine with the scale that Walmart has, how many suppliers and mills have to be part of the program. And we have been able to scale this up. We started with our direct imports suppliers, and then we moved the program to domestic suppliers. And then after that, you know, doing more work on the home side of the business. Apparel was a little bit more aligned. And then we started pulling in the home side, and we're getting closer to hit our goal. So I'm very sure, I'm certain that we will achieve that by 2022. And then on the right, you will see how we have been progressing in the different indicators. You know, we have 7 KPIs that we're working on with Higg FEM. And well, you'll see there that energy, for instance, is the one that has the highest progress and the best scores. You know, this is basically about performance. The previous chart was about adoption. So adoption has grown and performance has also increased. In here, I don't have the numbers, but I'm basically comparing where Walmart is compared to the rest of the industry. So very happy to report here that we're ahead in all of the indicators than the average of the industry. And that's where we want to be. You know, there's a lot of work that we have done with our suppliers. And down there, you'll see who are the key players that have, you know, are enablers to accomplish this. So first of all, committed suppliers. So we went out, you know, and spread the message, and it came from our leadership down. And that's very important because if it doesn't come from leadership, it's hard to follow. So it came from our merchant leadership, and suppliers have followed very well. You know, they're committed. Many are, you know, role models in the industry, sustainability. Then very important, we have a very global visibility and partnership. So we have a global sourcing team, and they help us implement Higg FEM in the different regions of the world. Of course, leadership support. So we have been reporting progress, and they keep helping us with funds and supporting the program. We have a sustainability team. You know, everyone keeps updating on progress in the industry, new technologies, and so on, and how we can still grow our program through that. Then consultants, very important for us. You know, it has been finding the right people with the right knowledge and connections to make things happen. So having good consultants for trainings, that's great, you know, and to help you shape your strategy. And we have used all that, you know, and to get to the point where we are right now. And then finally, the SAC, Higg, and also the third-party verifiers. So this is so important. We have received, you know, great support from the SAC with the methodology, with the meetings, the interaction with suppliers, and then through Higg with all the platforms and technology. You know, since Higg started, we have seen a great improvement in the visibility that we have now to all of the KPIs, and it's getting better. You know, we're customizing reports in order to be able to slice and dice the data and see where the main opportunities are. So this year we're trying to move from just growing the program to driving performance. You know, and we have seen that increase in performance every year, but I think right now it's a time when we have the critical mass there where we can definitely see more progress in each one of the indicators. So as many of you know, Walmart and Patagonia started the SAC, and we're very proud of the progress that we have done so far and how many other retailers and brands have joined and are using this as the industry standard. Next slide, please. All right, and this is about Higg BRM. So Higg BRM, we have been using Higg BRM for a few years, but it was more of a manual report that we had to turn in just to see how we were progressing and do kind of a self-assessment of where we were. Until last year, it was now embedded in the platform, and we were able to respond to all these questions. And to tell you the truth, it was a little bit challenging, even though we have a very robust responsible sourcing program, and many of you in the call that are part of our suppliers to Walmart, you know this. We have been doing a lot of work on the social side, but we were never reporting before in Higg BRM. We were just reporting the environmental side, and this year we had to start with Higg BRM. I think it's a great tool. I think it helps us realize where our weaknesses are. We know what we're doing, but sometimes, internally we don't see what we're not doing. And this was a great eye opener for us in certain areas that definitely we need to put more effort. So, applicability, basically high volume brands and retailers. In our case, we had to respond to around 600 questions. Once you display the entire document, it's around 600 questions. So we had to fill this alone. So we pulled in different members of the company, and it's important this was and how we had to move forward. And then finally, verification. So, what does this look like? We still haven't gone through a verification process, but we will this year. So these are some of the things that I can share. I just read some messages that it seems like I was breaking up. I'm sorry. I think it's probably the connectivity. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. This is my last slide. So I would say that the learnings, like to wrap it up, the key learnings of implementing Higg, partnership is so important. Basically, clearly sharing our goals with our suppliers, and then following up every year, in a regular basis. We have supported with training. We have supported with pilots in the different regions and factories. So, and at our cost. So we have supported with that. And then we just take feedback, from all of you guys. It's so important for us to know how we can model our program, how we can make it better, and how we can all benefit from it. So that's all I got to share. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And now I'll turn it to Alexandra, who will conduct the Q&A section.
Hey, Gerson, thank you so much. We'll go ahead, as Gerson mentioned, and open it up for a Q&A session for a few moments. Please feel free to submit questions in the box that I believe is available to you. And so to kick us off, Gerson, we've got some questions for you. What advice would you give to a buyer that's exploring using the Higg tools for the first time?
Yeah, I would say, a buyer, in our case, the buyer is not the main user of the Higg tools, but they need to partner very closely with their sustainability team in order to be able to ask the right questions. So what we did is that we developed like a one-pager which had kind of the methodology or the definition of certain tools that we use, and then some questions that our buyers can ask to our suppliers. And that, just having a buyer bring these questions to suppliers is so important because it starts the conversation, and their improvement starts as well.
And building off of that, can you mention how you're using Sedex and asking suppliers to use both the Sedex SAQ and SMETA to collect ethical and social data, and perhaps how this complements your sustainability strategy through the use of the Higg tools as well?
Yeah, well, in our case, I have responsibilities over the environmental part. We have a team in responsible sourcing that deals with the social part, and we work together, in many projects. And in this case, I think, both are great tools and methodologies. So we ask our suppliers constantly, that it's not just the what, it's also the how. And transparency and responsibility throughout the supply chain is critical.
And Gerson, you mentioned the importance of leadership to drive a commitment in sustainability. How have you encouraged or supported or prepared leaders to prioritize sustainability?
Yeah, so this is a great question because when we started, it's really hard to push things down up, and we were struggling at the beginning because not everyone understood sustainability or how important it was to the customers. We knew that we had to do the right things, and we were doing that in many cases, but there were some things that were still not there in our program. And then what we did was we started developing a strategy, and we pulled leadership in. So them becoming partners on how we were going to model our program was so important, and then they were the ambassadors of that. So we started meetings, and where they had their merchants and they had all the cross-functional teams in there. We even created videos about this, and we showed those videos to our suppliers. So when you see an executive vice president talking about this, or in this case, like Doug McMillan is our CEO, and we're talking about making Walmart a regenerative company, then you know that things are in motion, and that we all need to get into the boat and make it happen.
That's great. Thank you so much, Gerson. Adele, we have a question for you. Can I share Higg assessments with any of my supply chain partners? And feel free to turn your camera back on if you join us on the screen.
Sure, great. Yes, you can. So as a Higg user, whether you're a supplier or a buyer, you own your data and you choose who you want to share that data with. And you can share that data with as many business partners in the supply chain as you'd like. One of our core tenets or design principles is reducing audit fatigue. And so the hope is that you're filling out one assessment and then you're able to share that with a whole variety of business stakeholders across the supply chain.
That's great. And you mentioned an adoption tool and communication support. Can you share a little bit more about how this works?
Yes. So as a platform user, so if you join the Higg platform, you get access to the adoption tool. And that's one of our core management tools, again, that helps facilitate your managing a large network or small network of suppliers to move through an assessment process. Retailers can also use it to roll out the tool, the Higg BRM to a variety of buyers or brands as well. And this tool also has a communications component too. So it's sort of tracking and monitoring your suppliers as they move through the process and kind of serving up information that is helpful for them as they move through the assessment. In addition to that, we offer a variety of services to help facilitate that process for organizations as well. So we have a team that works directly with sustainability managers or sustainability teams to help kind of augment the team in rolling out the assessment to suppliers.
Wonderful, thank you. We have a question for you about integration. How can I integrate the tools with my company's own systems, and what kind of metrics would they report?
Great question, and a specific and unique question. And as I am not the technical expert on the call, that would require a conversation between our technical team. So we just need to learn more about your specific internal systems, and then our technical team could put together a plan and come up with a scope of work around how we could facilitate that, especially based on the particular KPIs or goals you have in terms of that integration.
Perfect, thank you.
I was just going to jump in there, Adele and Alexandra, and mention that in Adele's section, she mentioned that we also make available APIs, which really are designed to make integration into some of your mainstream PLM systems or ERP systems that much easier. So that's an option as well.
That's perfect. Thanks, Josh. Actually, and a question for you. So how may Higg's partnership with Sedex evolve in the coming months? Anything else you can share with us on that piece?
Yeah, so right now we're focused primarily on sort of providing that complementary resource in the environmental assessment to as many Sedex members as possible. But we also recognize that the real power of this collaboration is in the technology that ultimately can be integrated. And we're frankly still exploring how that's going to work and where and how the benefits will be delivered to Higg users and Sedex members. So as we explore that further and figure out where those integration points are to be optimized, we will communicate back out to the members and the users accordingly. For those users that are both existing Higg users and Sedex members, we'd love to hear from you and learn a bit more about how you see those integration scenarios working for you. And so, we'd love to just stay in touch and potentially form some user groups around that.
Perfect, thank you. And a question for both of you. Can you speak to the value of the balance between the social and the environmental assessment that the partnership provides for, a holistic approach?
Yeah, I'll just jump in quickly. I mean, I think as we've seen in the example of Walmart, leading organizations are trying to advance both robust environmental and social labor conditions and strategies within their organization and across their value chain. And so what gives us so much excitement about this relationship is you really have best of breed in both categories. You have, Sedex, who is driving deep levels of engagement and performance improvement across working conditions within their user base and member base. And then you have Higg, which is really helping organizations like Walmart and others identify how to measurably improve the environmental conditions within that supply chain. And so together, we're just excited about what this represents for improvement across both categories and really help to shape an end-to-end sustainability strategy for organizations.
That's great. Herson, can we ask you the same question? Just, the importance of having a holistic approach of looking at both the social and environmental side, and the importance of that sustainability strategy for Walmart's approach.
Yeah, definitely. I think both go hand in hand, and there's no way you can just do the environmental part and neglecting, all the social aspects. So in our case, we're trying to improve the tools that we have for visibility. Trying to move from what tools that are work isolated to something more integrated. And in this case, for instance, we're starting a program or to develop something where we can tie like the Higg index into our sustainability platforms. Where to your previous questions, how do buyers make decisions, or how can buyers use tools? I think making these tools easier for them to interpret and analyze is so important. So that's one of our goals, trying to give these tools to all of our end users in the company, and that should include the social and the environmental part.
Perfect, thank you so much. Before I hand it back over to Mark, is there anything that anyone would like to say to close out the Q&A session? Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, all of you, for participating. And with that, we'll go ahead and hand it back over to Sedex. Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you to all of our speakers, and also for everyone who's joined us today. Appreciate how valuable time is, so thank you for giving that up to join us. And thank you for all those questions, really interesting. We're really excited about this partnership with Higg and the opportunity it gives for members of both Higg and Sedex to combine their social ethical data and their Higg environmental data. And as Josh mentioned just a minute ago as well, we are exploring how we can integrate that data across our two platforms. So I'd just like to echo what Josh said, that if you're a current Sedex or Higg member and you have views on how that integration would look or would be useful, then do reach out to us, either of us or both of us, but do reach out to us and give us share your views on that, which will be useful insight as we try to develop that side of things. To ensure we don't run out of time with any other answered questions, we'll deal with offline. Sedex relationship managers will also follow up with their respective accounts just to make sure that there's no unanswered questions there. But I think that pretty much wraps it up from me, and I think wraps it up from all of us, I believe.